Hey guys, so if you're here from Brad's channel, I absolutely loved their broadcast today. But the thing is that now we're kind of doing a round robin thing. Just as it starts to go live, you're like, oh, I should have gone pee. I'm going to be here for an hour. So with that lovely, extremely couth intro, so today I kind of wanted to start off with my little take on Memorial Day. I have a grandma that's a very strong woman, a very, very determined woman. And I wasn't always terribly close to her because she was such a go-getter and wasn't really necessarily the kind, warm, fuzzy grandma. She was just an exceptionally hardworking woman. And I remember she was always so much about duty and about, I don't know, I think duty was really her watchword. And I remember for Memorial Day weekends, she would plant a huge patch of flowers that were perennial flowers, but also some annual flowers. And that patch was just to use to take to the gravesite. And on Memorial Day weekends, we would go out and we would clip these flowers. She had a lot of orchids. And she would clip them, and then we would drive to, we would be all dressed up in our pretty clothes, and we would go to the grave sites and leave flowers. And she didn't just leave them for those who were fallen soldiers, but it was a family bonding, a family coming together. And I don't know if it necessarily was about so much about would this person that has passed away care about the fact that I'm leaving flowers for them, as much as it was about us showing respect for them and taking a moment to pause in our busy lives and reflect on what they did for our lives and on people that you care about and that you love. And so I remember watching my grandma do that. And she raised my dad, who is equally duty, what's the word? Focused on being all you can be to the people around you. And I remember, I think after him watching her example, she was just the kind of woman that if there was a need, she would meet it. And she had her own mother in her home when she was aged, and she cared for her. And I remember watching my father then take care of my grandmother when she was aged, and the care and concern that she be able to stay in her own home, and that he and his brothers took care of her. And I feel that her example of caring and respect really lives on today in my parents. And I think Memorial Day has a lot to do with that. And so I feel like even if we don't know people that gave their lives for our freedom, we do have people that we care about, that were in our family, that we can go and leave flowers at their gravesite and be more aware and more cognizant of special days that help us be better people because we remember the people in our lives. So I just wanted to pop that in there. I'm gonna see, okay, so I still can't see the comments. I'm going to try really hard to figure out how to do it. Okay, so I think I've opened up the group chat. Usually there's something that shows up to the side and you just put in your little comments there. It would make it really nice and a whole lot easier for me if you could talk to me, because I don't have anybody to chat to. And I mean, I'm good at chatting, but I do get a little bored of what it is I'm saying because I listen to myself talk all day anyway. So today, the project that I'm working on is a glove. And when you're making a glove, you have to use what looks like chopsticks. Let's see. To list all available commands. Oh, guys, I just so don't know how to do this. I feel like such a klutz trying to figure this out. Did it work? I don't know. I don't know how to make it work, guys. I'm such a hack at this. And I did do my research and I still can't figure out how to make it work. And it's so much more fun over on Brad's channel when we can talk to each other. So I guess I need to go do more research on this. So the way that you make gloves is that you knit in the round using what looks like chopsticks. And you know, in a bad situation where maybe you didn't have knitting needles, you could really use any straight stick as long as all 4 of them were the same size. Because it did, you know, when our great grandmothers were making socks and gloves and stuff, they didn't have specialized knitting needles. They just pretty much had one size, and they used one size of yarn and one size of needles, and it just worked. Now the reason we have so many needles is because we are off the wall more creative than we really need to be. Usually a size 7 or a size 8 when you're using a worsted weight yarn works really well. So I'll show you the other one that I've already finished, and I just need to tuck things in. And I learned something really cool. Last week I was kind of complaining because the spinning wheel that I like to use is pulling too hard. And this is a hack for anybody that is a spinner, because it is universal knowledge. And if you didn't know this, you should know this, because, oh my gosh, it will save you from having to own more than one spinning wheel. So first off, again, if you're going to be somebody that spins and you're just starting out, this is just a ball of alpaca thread weight yarn, okay? And instead of trying to keep my yarn strong and cohesive on a spinning wheel that really pulls hard, I'm going to put a core on, which means that my yarn is going to wrap around this core that I'm putting on, so that it has a little bit of extra structure. Okay, and I'm gonna grab some wool. This wool is from my own sheep. I had a Romney. I really, really love Romney. And today I'm just gonna play with spinning it from the lock. This wheel, this is a hopper from Spinolution, but this wheel is meant as an art yarn wheel, which means that it's meant to be chunky and slubby and just kind of, I don't know if the right word is messy looking, but I'm gonna see how it goes. I've never tried to do something chunky and slubby. Usually I try to have it have a little bit of regularity to the gauge. Brad, you and I need to have a conversation about how it is that I set up these comments, because I cannot figure it out. Later it showed up. Hey, Squirt, what are you doing?
I'm down to visit.
Don't you guys love her sparkly blue dress? It's so stinking cute.
And I have a sparkly necklace with it.
And you have a sparkly necklace with it.
From Fresh Princess.
Fresh Princess, yeah?
Yeah.
That was really nice of her. Okay, so what chores do you need to go get done? Did you go take care of the goats?
Yeah.
So what did you do? Is everybody looking happy?
Yeah, Camille drank a little water.
Did she?
Lemon Drop drank a little water. And Kombucha drank a little water.
Okay.
And a lot of water, actually. Because like, she wanted to come here, and so did Lemon Drop, but Chai was like, get off, get away.
Yeah.
And I was like, stop it. So I pulled on her collar so they could get, and then go open, so they did, and then.
And you've got one of your babies out there that's kind of loose. Okay, Brad, I'm going to ask you, if you're still watching, can you text me and tell me which button I'm supposed to hit so that I can do group chat, because I'm not seeing anything, and I don't enter chat message or link here. And see, I don't see anything. And I've played with it so much. Is it the Q&A button that I hit, or is it the blue button up at the top? I just don't know how to do it. Okay, I think that's from last time, isn't it? Yeah, I just don't know how to do it. Okay, so I will just sit here and talk then. Some of the exciting things that are happening around here is that I have Empress sold, plus one of her kids. Kaya decided that she wanted to indeed sell one of her kids, and that was because we really didn't want Empress to go to her new home without having a buddy, because what they have there is horses and big German shepherds, and she would be so stinking scared if she had to go somewhere and there weren't goats there to greet her, to help her not feel by herself. And also I just think I always like to send a goat with one of her friends
or kids.
And so that's one thing that's happening. The other exciting thing is, where did I put my phone? I wanted to let you guys hear an intro. So my friend Cinnamon approached me about us doing a podcast together. She is this amazing, innovative woman that organizes other people's homes and cleans homes, and that's what she does for a living. And she's just so stinking smart. But her husband does podcasts on lawn care. And when they said, let's do a podcast, I thought that would be so fun, and I don't know how to do it. I have no idea how to do it. And let's see. I don't know if it's working. It almost looked like people were able to comment for a minute, but it's not scrolling. Anyway, so this is the intro. They sent me the intro, and I wanted to let you guys listen to it a little bit. It's going to be called Jills of All Trade, and we're trying to set up the website, and, well, Derek, Cinnamon's husband, is trying to set up that website. But here's the intro. We'll see if it gives you guys terrible feedback or not. And last time what we talked about was, I don't know, kind of who we are and where we came from and why we're doing what we are. And we're going to try and get 5 of them set up and recorded before we make them available. And I can't remember which direction I was spinning. And so that will be super, super fun. For me, it's just really nice to have somebody else kind of be in charge occasionally, and to have the bright and brilliant ideas and just tell me to show up. Because sometimes my brain gets a little bit tired trying to instigate too many projects at one time. So now what I'm going to do my best to explain this. This format is different than Big Family Homestead. No chat, but a place to ask questions. Hi, everyone. So it looks to me like things are maybe showing that people can comment, but I'm not really sure because, again, it's not scrolling for me, which is tricky. I can't figure out why it wouldn't scroll. Anyway, so this spinning wheel just broke my core. The core came undone because it was pulling too hard. So this is the trick. And I'm hoping you can see it. So what you do is you take your yarn and you crisscross it across your hooks. This one doesn't have hooks, but if you had hooks, so you crisscross it a couple times across there and then let it come out. And what that does is it makes the drag, it creates drag on those. Except that time it didn't work. It would be the one time that it didn't work that I would be doing it on live, so that it makes me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. And I don't know where it went, darn it. This is the thing, if you have an art wheel, it's always going to be easiest to make art yarns on it. If you have a more traditional wheel, it's going to be really easy to make traditional yarns on. The complication comes in when you want to switch between the two. Because when you want to switch between the two, they're just not the same horse. They just don't work the same. Okay, so we'll see if it'll decide if it wants to work this time. But I was able to spin a fingering, oh, see, it broke again. See, this is the problem I have with this particular wheel. With the girl's wheel, it doesn't pull as much, but the bobbin is not as big. And the reason I do like the Spinolution wheels is because you can just pop the head off. Pop the bobbin off. You don't have to do any big hooty doody anything to change your bobbins, which is really nice. It just saves you time. Let's see what else is going on. So the response to our Etsy store has been so huge that I have been able to go out and buy some hay. We needed some hay to put in as mulch in the backyard. We had some weeds that were showing through that I hadn't had the money to go buy the mulch for in a little while. And I was able to go get a couple more geese to handle the grass that was growing around some of the trees. The problem is, and the reason the geese are brilliant, okay, I have to tell you this because I've never done this before and it's so exciting. Okay, so geese, they're stinking loud. They are like this huge, aggressive, nasty bird that will bite you every single time. But they're so big that most predators, especially if they're in a flock, most predators won't mess with them. They're big and they're noisy and they're aggressive. And so they also, in spring and summer, they don't need a shelter. What they like is they like to get wet and they like to be out in the rain. And so you don't have to have, the only shelter you need out there for them is something that might be like a sun protection. They will get warm, but if you have them in an orchard under your trees, they don't even need that. And so to me, they are the perfect permaculture animal. As far as, just because you're doing permaculture doesn't mean that you don't have weeds. Weeds can be a huge problem because all that mulch can, I wouldn't necessarily say they harbor weeds, but just because you have a lot of mulch down, if it just changes weeds. If you have a really, really dry environment, you have certain weeds. If you have a really, really wet environment, you have certain weeds. So just because you change from a dry environment and you're holding water in the ground doesn't mean that then when you have a whole bunch of water, you won't still have weeds. The weeds just change. And so if you don't have some kind of system in place so that those weeds stay at bay, it doesn't mean you're trying to eradicate all weeds. You know, there's nothing wrong with a weed here and a weed there. But when you change from a dry system to a wet system, if you don't have something in place there, those weeds will take over. And what you want to be growing there will be set back by those weeds. And so hence the geese. If we weren't watering around those fruit trees as much as we are to give them a really good start, the geese might not be as appropriate. But geese really love water and they really love grass. That is their favorite food, is new grass. And so we thought we'd try it out, and you guys that have seen my videos with the geese saw that we took about a 3-foot tall wire fence. Again, the reason that the geese work so much better than ducks around the trees is that the fencing doesn't have to be specialized. A duck can squeeze through regular fencing, whereas a goose can't, and they don't fight the fences. So you set up like a snow fence and they'll stay in. I did have some really light geese that flew over because they had been setting on eggs and they'd lost a lot of weight, so they were light enough to get over the fence, and they did, so I had to clip their wings. But now that I have it set up, it's amazing how well they can keep a small space really, really clean. Now, the reason why I don't want grass in there, for one thing, and see, I'm seeing comments. How do I know which direction they're coming from? And if people are asking questions, I don't know. I don't know if I should scan up. Maybe I should scan up because I see that it's moving. I should do a plying video. I'm having the hardest time with that. I should do a plying video. That's a good idea. Plying can be hard. If you want somebody who's a real professional as far as like art yarn plying, go over to howtospinyarn.com. She has little classes on how to do it. I'm not very good at the art yarn plying, but I'm really good at the traditional plying. Okay. Hey, Helios. Okay, somebody answer me back because I think I found the spot. Did I? Is that you guys? Okay, so Amanda and Helios, tell me if you just are able to comment again so that I know. Okay, so back to the geese. What was I saying? Okay, so I have found that a space that's about 30 by 30 is enough for 2 geese to keep down. I still give them grain. It's very inexpensive grain. You're doing more traditional. Oh, thank you, Amanda. Okay, so I'm seeing comments. Yay! Okay, you're doing traditional. Well, I can totally show that sometime. What I should do is actually change this so that I could do one. But I don't have a full bobbin right now. I should have started out with a full bobbin. This is a scrap box that I got from Natalie at Namaste Farms, and these are beautiful locks, and I totally want to make a yarn out of this. So maybe I'll just do that right now. Even with the art yarn, Lady Genevieve. Yay! Good. I'm so glad. Hooray! I shouldn't be on the internet because I'm so slow to figure out how these stupid thing works, and yet here I am. Okay, so what was it I was saying about geese? About a 30 by 30, as long as you have a good watering system there, and the geese will be able to keep up with it without getting really hungry. And what we feed them is whole barley or whole wheat that's like $4 a bag. So they're not expensive, and they don't lay a ton of eggs. They lay an egg about every other day, every third day during the season. The thing is, they're so big that one egg will feed a person really, really well. Don't you love Natalie? I love Natalie. Let's see. Okay, so geese. I was talking about geese. So a lot of people say that it's not worth it to keep geese for eggs, but if you're not feeding them very much because what you're really feeding them is grass, then it's like a no-brainer. Of course you should keep geese. For one thing, they work as really great guard dogs. And that's one of the things we use them for the most. We don't have a big dog. And so having the geese out there to kind of alert us to when there are intruders on our property. Hey, Helios. Yes, figured it out. They work really well, but I don't have to worry that they're going to go and kill any of my other animals because they're predators. My geese just stay where they're supposed to stay. They just let us know when there's people around. I've got to show you this lock. I don't know. Can you even see it? It's brown at the root and green at the tip. The way that she does this is amazing. And when I get her scrap boxes, she's at Namaste Farms. I think it's namastefarms.com, and that's where her scrap boxes are. And they're amazing. But I never put them through a drum carder because you lose all the twist. You lose all the beautiful character. So we'll see how cranky this thing is going to be because it is such a great art yarn wheel. And the thing is, ergonomically speaking, it is really, really easy to spin with. But I don't like that I have to tinker with it every time. Every time I want to do a traditional yarn. That just drives me up the wall. And ergonomics versus having to play with something, I'm seriously thinking about becoming a dealer for Kromsky. See, it broke again. Because, and it could just be this particular wheel. When I first got it, I had to send it back because it was pulling so hard. It didn't, even plying, I couldn't get it to work. Had to click the wheel button on under the video to comment. Interesting. Okay, well, that's good to know. I'll have to tell people that next time. If you guys aren't able to comment, click the wheel button underneath, let's see, underneath the video, and it should let you on the chat, I guess. Oh, thank you, Amanda. Yeah, that's where you get the scrap boxes. And she sent me the first 2, and there's so many projects that I can use this on from my Etsy store that I went and got more because I'm not good enough at dyeing to get these kind of colors on my own yet. I do a more basic dyeing job, and hers are just so rich and beautiful. I might have to just switch to roving because this is being stubborn. We'll see. This is a different kind. This is a roving. Roving is a long strip of yarn that's already been cleaned and carded, and usually roving will be really tight pressed though, and not very friendly. This one has been opened up and split so that it's easy to spin from. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the one thing is that it keeps scrolling funny so that I don't see the most recent ones. We'll see if I can get it to work now. What was I saying? Okay, so geese. So as a kid we had geese, but they were mean, and they were just aggressive. We had a lot of kids around, and the same thing has been true of here on our farm, is that until I put that fence up around them, I wasn't really happy with the situation because they would go after the kids when the kids were trying to do chores. I couldn't send the kids out to take care of the goats because the geese were out there and they were afraid of the geese. And so with the geese, I don't think they should be pets, especially once they get into brooding season. They will become aggressive and they'll try to bite everybody that comes around. And so I have their fencing on those step-in posts, so like those garden stakes that are step-in posts, and so that I can move it if I need to. They're not permanent, and it's worked really, really well. I gave an old dog hut to the goose that was trying to go broody, so that she had a little bit of extra shelter. She'll want to hide, so I put her inside the dog hut. Hey there. Oh, I don't know how to say your name. Jan Rohr Bernhardsen. Are you Swedish? And so there we go. It's a little bit happier now. So the geese, do you notice I talk about them a lot lately? In the last, let's see, in the last 3 weeks, maybe a month since we put them out there, I have not had to weed whack at all. The trees have suddenly just taken off. I think it's because the geese are fertilizing the trees at the same time that they're taking the grass out. And honestly, it looks like you should just go for a walk in the park. The grass looks so nice now. And so I couldn't be happier. So I'm so happy with that I'm scouring Craigslist to find more geese, because it took 2, 4, 6, 8 geese in our front property, just around the strips where the trees are, because that's the only place I irrigate. 8 geese to keep our front little tree lanes cleared of grass. Can the spinning wheel be easily built? If you go to, let's see if I can find the book. Spinning and Dyeing Yarn. So her website, this is Ashley Martineau. Her book, I'm trying not to get glare on it. Spinning and Dyeing Yarn is her book, and it's fantastic. And she actually has a plan in her, book that shows you how to make a spinning wheel with PVC. She does say that it's a little bit wobbly, but you can make one for under $100. The wheels that are my favorite that I think do a good job at traditional yarn. You're Norwegian. Oh, welcome. Traditional yarns, the spinning wheels that I prefer are Kromsky wheels, and I'm working on becoming a dealer for them, but it is very expensive to get started on it, and it may be a little bit before I can stock their wheels. But for traditional yarn, that's what I love. For the art yarns, I really like these wheels, just because they are easy. They're so easy. They're advertised as being an all-purpose wheel, but I have yet to find that to be the case. The little Polywog is a good kids wheel or a good beginner wheel, but I feel like if you want to do any kind of production spinning, something that's really fast and not just for your personal use, you want to have a better wheel. Just because you always get what you pay for. There are a few exceptions where you don't, but I feel like in any kind of art tool, you definitely get what you pay for. Okay, were there any other questions? So you can build a spinning wheel yourself, definitely. There's all sorts of people. What's the name of my Etsy store? My Etsy store is Dirtpatcheaven, and I think the way that it shows up is www.etsy.com/shop/Dirtpatcheaven. So if you want to actually type that in, that's how you do it. And so, yeah, the girls love their little polywog, and they've made some amazing yarns on it. But for me, where I go through so much yarn, I just need something that can do it faster. This one is so fast. It's about 3 times faster than the Kromskis that are for traditional. But again, it's hard to get a fine yarn on it because it wants to pull really hard. Okay, so back to the geese. So they are my I think I saw a website once where people used geese. I've always used, okay, I'm sorry guys. I get really excited about this. Okay, so originally when we started to do permaculture, we had chickens. And I found that they stirred up the mulch too much. They were stirring it up so that it couldn't stay on the ground and keep things moist, and it drove me crazy. And so I thought, well, I don't really like ducks. They're kind of loud. They're really dirty. But what was happening was that anything that I planted in the mulch was getting eaten by slugs. Everything, the minute it came up, was being eaten by slugs. I had all this mulch and it was breeding slugs. So gross. And so I thought, okay, Elliot Coleman said that ducks will eat slugs. So I got some ducks, and the ducks started to eat the seedlings before the slugs could. And so I put a cage over my seedlings, and it worked. As long as the ducks were able to get into the pathways between everything. Yeah, the Kromskis are amazing. For really, really fine spinning, the Symphony is really good, but I really, really love the Minstrel. I prefer the Minstrel. I feel like it's not quite as touchy. To my opinion, it does a broader range, and you can get a jumbo flyer for it that allows you to have a bigger bobbin. I love Kromski. So with the ducks, as long as the ducks could get into the pathways, they would kill all the slugs, but they couldn't get to the seedlings. So that was amazing. But then I started putting in my shallow rooted perennials like strawberries and raspberries. And if I didn't put a cage around them, they would eat the fine roots on the strawberries and the raspberries. And so I had to put cages around them. And so then I got rid of all my chickens. I only have 2 chickens now, and the purpose of the chickens is that they go back where the ducks have mucked everything up on top of the mulch, and they go and stir up just the top surface of the mulch so that it kind of slightly buries and roughs up where the ducks have left all their nasty mucky poop. And it's a perfect system. I have 4 laying ducks that feed us really, really well. We have the quail, and now we have the geese. And the ducks don't create quite enough eggs for our family, so having the quail and the geese to kind of pitch hit a little bit has meant that we've had plenty of eggs this year, even though we have only 4 laying ducks. And we have a muscovy that she's the one that goes out and sets eggs so that we have more ducks coming in, and then we take those to the butcher. And it just works so well. Having animals to do your work for you on your farm is the best way to go. There's never going to be enough time for you to do it. So if you can set up a happy system, then that system will take care of itself, and it's less that you have to do. Chris, is spinning hard? It is. It's like learning how to ride a bike. The more practice you get, the easier it is. I want to double check I'm not going too long. Okay, I'm not. I started out with a drop spindle. And the way to learn how to do it is, instead of spending huge chunks of time spinning, instead take 20 minutes a day and do some spinning. And that's how you get to be really proficient, is to do it every single day. Okay, so muscovy ducks are exceptionally quiet. They hiss to talk, and you can barely hear the hiss, so that they're not loud. And mama duck lays a lot of eggs. The problem is that she will set all of them. I mean, they are amazing brood animals, and she does a good job with them. And our mama just finished hatching out 8. 6 of them survived. And now I have her back out with daddy duck to get fertilized again, and she's already made a nest. So we're ready to go. She abandons the first ducklings as soon as they're ready to survive on their own, and goes and starts a new nest. And that is generally at about 4 weeks of age. They don't really get up under her feathers the same way that chickens do. They're really, really stinking cute little guys. And they pad when they walk. And they're so heavy. They're like the Angus of ducks, the Angus cow of ducks. They're so stinking heavy. If you ever see our daddy muscovy run, oh my gosh, he just about makes the ground shake. He's so big. But he's very gentle. We don't have a problem with him. Have you ever fed the leaves from the raspberry bush to your rabbits? We give it to the pregnant does. That's an amazing idea. Until this last year, until we got the ducks, we couldn't get raspberries to survive on our land. So right now, we're allowing our raspberries to get off to a really, really good start before we start to trim them. But we do give them tree branches and what else do we give them? We give them tree branches and comfrey and lovage, everything else that we have out on our property that isn't just trying to get started. We do give that to the rabbits. And in fact, we use our swale where we have a lot of things planted. The weeds come in there really well because it's heavily watered. And so where I get most of my rabbit food in the summer is actually from our swale to keep the weeds down. So I'm not really weeding. Really, I'm just harvesting for the rabbits. And from there, we get a lot of comfrey. I get some weeds that I don't know the names of. I even give them bindweed. And it kind of makes me feel less like I'm weeding and more like I'm just kind of saving money. Let's see, Amanda, I wonder why that one keeps popping back up. Do you eat some of the geese? If so, how do they taste? In the past, we've eaten geese. When we first got our ducks, we got some geese too, just to compare them. And I much prefer to butcher ducks. The geese are big, they have more down on them. And I think the geese are more intelligent than the ducks. I know that sounds horrible, but I have a much harder time butchering an animal that is aware that it's being butchered. They're very, very smart creatures, and they can live up to, I think they said they can live up to 70 years old. We have a goose right now that's 30 years old, and with the exception of when they're brooding, like we have some very gentle geese and we have some very aggressive geese. And so here's the difference. I like to do ducks because the feed ratio as far as the eggs is much, much lower for ducks than it is for geese. You feed ducks a lot less and you get a lot more if you're in a backyard permaculture system. When we spread our backyard permaculture system out to include the orchard, then what happened was that the feed ratio lowered a lot for those geese because they were eating grass. It's in the winter time that I really struggle to feed geese because they're really meant to be on grass, and they do, for the number of geese I need in order to keep my orchard clean, I don't know. That's one thing I'm really worried about. How am I going to feed these geese in the winter? The taste of the geese is a little bit stringy. These were young geese that we butchered. They were a little bit stringy. And they don't have as much fat on them as a duck does. We really like to butcher ducks that have been eating all our crab apples over the summer because they taste fruity, and the fat, what we do is when we cook our ducks, we save all the fat from them, we drain it off, and we put it in a jar, and that's how we cook, that's how we saute everything. It's the most delicious fat in the world. And so you're not eating the fat with the duck, you're pouring it off and saving it for later, and it's amazing. It's the best fat in the world. And the way we cook it, it has a little bit of honey in it, so it has a very gourmet flavor. Let's see, around here people in California, Sarah, have geese as guard dogs. Yes, and we do the same. I love to have the geese up front because then we know who's coming on our property, that somebody's here that they don't recognize. And the thing is, we don't allow them to go free around our property. We do have them caged in around the trees that we want them to weed. The reason is they leave lots of poop everywhere, and they will go after small children and dogs and cats, and but more particularly they'll go after small children. And they can't really necessarily hurt them, but it scares them. And I still get bit by our gander when I go in. It's not a big deal. When you have an aggressive goose, you grab their head and you grab a wing. But if you can hold on to their head, they can't bite you. They can hit you with their wings, and it does leave bruises. But even if they do bite you, it really doesn't hurt. It's all very much a big show. Around here, okay, was there anything else that I missed? Okay, so The geese taste a little stringier. I find them harder to butcher. When I butcher my ducks and my geese, what I do is I wait until fall when there's been a lot of fruit falling on the ground underneath the crabapple tree. And when they've been eating, and that cuts our feed bill down by 75% in fall. But our crabapple tree is a biennial, so we have heavy year and then no crabapples, and then heavy year and then no crabapples. And so I prefer not to eat our waterfowl when it hasn't been a crabapple year. It makes such a difference in the flavor of everything that you wouldn't believe it. Are you going somewhere? Are you going camping? Okay, give me a kiss. I love you.
Don't mind if we're gone for a day again, because lately we've been camping.
They have been camping.
And if you want, I'll make clothes for you, like shirts and tube tops.
Yeah,
that's all I really make.
Yeah, you make beautiful clothes, don't you?
I made this for one of my friends.
Mm-hmm. I love you, and be safe. Did you get your jacket? Mm-hmm. And you have food? Mm-hmm. Daddy remembered to pack everything? Mm-hmm. Okay. Be safe, okay? Listen to Dad. Make sure to take Tina with you. Okay, love you. They are taking the RV to try out. We have a woofer coming, hopefully. And so we're trying out the RV. Okay, what was the question? How many eggs do they lay a day, or are they like chickens and lay one? Okay, so the geese are very seasonal layers, so they won't lay in the winter. Although we had some that started laying, I think they laid an egg in like February, which was crazy. They're enormous. They're like an ostrich egg. They're huge. And I think my girls lay one about every 3 days. And usually that coincides with the day that's a little light on the duck eggs. And so for us, okay, the way that I really feel about farming is having variety and having, I love the impromptu infomercial. How cute, right? She is so gung-ho about the Etsy store. Okay, so she sold a book the other day, and she was so excited. And that's how we let them buy their clothes and stuff like that, is the work that they do allows them to put money into what they want to buy. And usually they're always losing their shoes, and so that's what they do, so they love it. Okay, what was it? Okay, so the farming, it has to be a system. It used to be that you had so many different types of livestock that you could really pinpoint what they were good at and how they could serve you and be happy on their farm. If you had a really wet spot, you'd put in waterfowl. If you have a spot that has a lot of weeds, you'd put in your pig. And you would think that geese and ducks would be good at the same thing, but they're not. The ducks are really, really good at getting into your mulch and rooting around with their little bills and finding bugs and weeds. The geese are not as good at that. They're really good at just eating the grass on the surface. And they don't need the protection that the ducks do from predators. And so you can put them in different places to do that. And even though geese don't lay as many eggs, they lay enormous eggs. So it's almost like they just laid 3 eggs in one. And the eggs are hardier than chicken eggs. They are thicker. They're just amazing. They're just so good. Let's see. So what was I saying about the geese? They taste good. Okay, so when we butcher them in the fall, I wait until it's cold, and I go out and we cut their heads off, and then we hang them for 3 days. And what happens with that is that their meat tenderizes. As long as it's cold, their meat will tenderize. I don't gut them. I don't pluck them. I wait about 3 days. And what we did to get our smokehouse, okay, I thought I saw any question, but it didn't show up. What we did to get our smokehouse was that we had a big deck that was huge on the wrong side of our house. It was on the south side of the house, so that it was always super, super, super hot, very, very hot. You couldn't be on it in the summer because it just baked you out. And in the winter, all you did was shovel snow. So we took part of that deck off so that the goats could go underneath the rest of the deck as their shelter in the winter, so that they were close to the house, so it was easier to take care of them. And with all the wood that we took off the deck, we took the gazebo that was there attached to the deck, and we turned it into a smokehouse. And so we cut the heads off our geese and our ducks, and we hang them in the smokehouse. It keeps them safe from the cats. Cats can't get to them. Nothing can get to them. And I hang them for 3 days. Let's see. I keep thinking. did I see another one? Do you buy or trade wool or harvest your own? The brown wool that I just showed you came from one of my sheep, and it's a Romney, and it's beautiful. I love Romney. This is Romney that I purchased at the Fiber Fair specifically for Corinne. And go check her out. She's feeling better. Corinne, the Fresh Princess, I love her so much. She is such an amazing spirit. And so we're doing a collaboration where she's making me a piece of art and I'm making her a special hat. And I needed it to be really special. And so I went and purchased this to make hers. And sometimes I trade it and sometimes I buy it. Sometimes my neighbor, when they're sharing, if they have a really nice fleece, they'll call me and say, do you want this fleece or should I throw it away? And I run and I purchase it if it doesn't have a lot of hay in it. Let's see. And there for a while, I did raise Angora rabbits. The problem with the Angora rabbits is that I have a little bit of asthma, and Angora rabbits and asthma do not mix. And so I can use a little bit of Angora here and there, but I have to be careful. And with Angora rabbits, you have so much shearing that you have to do. Angora rabbits, you have to shear them every 3 months. And that exposure is a little bit too much for me with my asthma. So, okay, back to the geese. So we took our gazebo and framed it in and gave it a floor, and we have hooks in there, and we can take our smoke machine in there, our smoker, and rather than having the meat in the smoker, the meat is in the smokehouse, but we don't have a tunnel going up into the smokehouse. We just have the smoker in the house so that it'll smoke them. And so we don't turn the smoker on until after I have plucked and gutted them. And I do prefer the meat when it has sat. And it's a very European thing to do, to leave the guts in your animals and just let them hang for a little bit with the poultry and just kind of, I don't know what it does to them, but it tenderizes them. And we have yet to get sick from it. With any larger animal, I don't think they cool down fast enough, and I think it goes rancid. I do not leave any kind of mammal with their guts in. Even if it's just a rabbit, I skin them and I gut them when I butcher them. Whereas with the poultry, at least with the waterfowl, I let it hang for 3 days. Let's see, I eat the geese? And so the first time we kept ducks and geese, we butchered the geese out because we were just straight grain feeding them. We weren't feeding them out on grass. And I just felt like they were eating so much, they were eating us out of house and home. And now, jubilation, they are in a, I just can't tell you how it usually in our area, this is the first year I've been able to get enough water to get things to thrive instead of just kind of barely surviving. FYI, this Google YouTube interface is a bit confounding. It is, isn't it? I know it is. It's been really confusing for me. There's another way to do this where you use a different program, which is kind of, I think that's what Brad does, but I haven't been able to figure it out. This is the only way I've been able to figure it out, and I'm a little flabbergasted by it. I'm not a techie, and I really struggle with it, but I feel like it's the best that I can offer now, unless you like gave me a brain transplant, which I could really use one of those if anybody's offering. Okay, so with the weeds. So this is the first year that we have enough water to everything. I figured out how to water so that nothing gets watered more than once a week. And yet it gets watered deeply enough because I have mulch around it, or because I have the geese around it. And because then the grass isn't taking all the water. Previously, and especially this year now that I have enough water on it, if I didn't have the geese out there, I would be weed whacking every 2 days. And I have 1.5 acres. And I would have no time to make videos. I would have no time to spin or make anything for the Etsy store. Why don't you guys raise beef cows? We have. I grew up raising beef cows. And the reason that I don't anymore is because we did an experiment when we first got here and we bought a zebu. She was a little zebu, just like in the song from VeggieTales, zebu. You know that one? And we got her, and she was pregnant with a half short, low-line Angus. So she was bred to a low-line Angus bull. And she had a little low-line Angus calf. And the thing is that the homesteading is my thing. It's not my husband's thing. And the fences that we had put up were fences that were good for goats. Give me a kiss. I love you. I hope you have super fun. Okay. Listen to Dad, okay? Make sure you take your jacket.
Okay. Just so you know, we're gonna have blueberry and pear cobbler.
No way. That sounds delicious. I'm so glad you're gonna have fun. Thanks for taking care of the goats. Are other shelters pushed you on?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Especially Empress.
I really
she has
appreciate
it really good next to her.
Okay.
And Kombucha will wander to whichever one she'll want.
Yeah, and that'll be fine too. Thanks for your hard work. Love you. What were we talking about? Oh, beef cows. Okay, so we had a little line Angus, and she had a little half beef cow. Hi, Yankee 4. Hello. And we raised him and we butchered him, and it was good meat and it lasted us a really long time. The problem was the fencing. I had this little cow that was like maybe 350 pounds, and she didn't eat very much, but she, and we would put her out on the same tethers that we put the goats on. She was really respectful of fences. She was just a really good cow. But with such a small cow, it was hard to find a bull that was small enough to breed her to. That was the really big problem. We ended up taking her to go get bred at a Dexter farm, and yet she was still a lot smaller than them. And being at the Dexter farm, she's not a winter cow, and she got really, really thin. And it was, I thought we were going to lose her after she'd been there to be bred, because the other cows would keep her out of the shelter, and she needs some pampering because she's thin-skinned. Okay, somebody just said something. Darn it! And then I lost it. How is it that I get it to stop doing that? Because I feel like I saw a question and then I felt like I lost the question. Oh, well, hopefully it'll pop back up. I saw something about spinning, wanting to learn how to spin. So if I can't see it, ask me again, because I don't know if it'll pop up. So we had this little, really enjoy this chat time as I'm crocheting. Oh, I love that. Isn't that fun? Yeah, I saw somebody ask about spinning just now. We don't have bees. Okay, so there's so much background that I need to share with you guys. I need to finish the cow story. Okay, I would like to start spinning. I was wondering if you can use any kind of sheep wool or if there's a certain types that will work. I strongly recommend getting something that's kind of a medium length, like a 6-inch length, and get it and learn how to spin from the lock. With a core. I'm not using a core right now, but it's a good idea to start with a core. I love starting with Romney. Romney is just my above and beyond favorite. If you can spin just straight from a fleece. The problem is if it's not a clean fleece, if it has a lot of organic matter in it, it's going to turn out a poor product and you will get frustrated. Natalie at Namaste Farms, she has her scrap boxes, and with each one of those scrap boxes comes a free how-to video on how to make the yarn that she suggests for it. So that might be an option, but also how to spin yarn. She has how-to videos too on how to do art yarns. And I'm trying to do up a series myself on how to do traditional yarns from drop spindles, but I have so much else going on. I'm attempting broomstick, like, ooh, that sounds beautiful. I want to see that. Do you have Amanda, do you have an Instagram account where you put that kind of thing? I'm so glad you like it, Doc. Okay, did I lose anything else? Okay, I think I got everybody. Okay, so back to the beef cows. I loved Lucy. Her name was Lucy, and she was really, really easy. We would stake her out on a rope, and she trusted me, just like no worries. She just totally trusted me. She was a good cow, but when she got scared, she was hard to handle. It wasn't like 150-pound goats where we were evenly matched. And so getting her to a vet when she was afraid of strangers and getting her to be bred when she was afraid of strangers was very, very difficult, because you can't AI a cow that's so nervous that she knocks herself out of her heat cycle. And so I know this is a really long-winded way to say why we don't keep cows. The person wanted to know if you could use any wool or had to use special wool. I like to use very, very clean wool. I don't want to waste my time with something that has a lot of alfalfa in it. It's not worth my time to get it out. And so that's what I would say, is if you can find a really nice wool, like a whole fleece that has been coated, which means that they kept a coat on the sheep during the wool growing season. If it's been coated, you can spin from the lock. If it hasn't been coated, it needs to be prepped, which would be roving, and I strongly suggest Romney. I love Romney. And so back to the Angus cows. When I was a kid, we raised Holstein calves on our goat's milk. We had goats when I was a kid. I am crocheting hunter. I haven't been very active though. You should put up your lace on there. I would love to see it. And I'll see if I can go hunt you down and find you. Let's see. So when we were a kid, we raised Holstein calves because we could get them for $30, and then we would put our goats in the milk stand and just have our calves nurse off our goats, and it worked really, really well for me. It worked so well. And we had the fences for cows though, and they would still break through sometimes and end up at church before we did in the morning. It was really aggravating. We are learning as we go. Be patient, right, Brad? And so with our cows, it was a matter of when I was homesteading as a child, my dad was always home. He worked from home. He was there to handle the big animals. We had a squeeze chute. We had a barn, all that kind of things. Please do these more often. These are so awesome. We learned so much about you. Oh, I'm so glad. Thanks, Chris. And so we had all the equipment for us. We for most of our marriage have been living on a single income that does not exceed $35,000 a year. And so the cost of feeding a cow and putting up the infrastructure for a cow was so far out of our price range. And also I'm the one that does the farming. And so my ability to take care of and move around a cow that is 1,200 pounds means I would have had to have a trailer to move the cow in. And if something happened to me on the farm, I had 2 little teeny tiny kids that I was trying to take care of. And if I got hurt by a cow, how are my kids going to tell somebody that I was hurt? Please do these. Okay, really enjoying this chat. Okay, I agree. Yes, they're super fun. And so for me, the other thing is we did raise cows milk cows. We had milk cows. We had brown Swiss, and our neighbor had Jersey cows, and we did the chores for the Jersey cows all the time. And what happened is that they got milk fever. We lost 3 cows in 1 year to milk fever. And if it cost you $2,000 to buy a cow and you had to pay vet bills and then you still lose the cow, it really soured us on milk cows. I think the way that Brad does it, where they have the Dexter, she's not a high output cow. And so it doesn't put a huge strain on her system to give milk. And she seems pretty friendly. So if you guys haven't seen Brad and his videos, go check that out, because I think that the way they're doing it is about the only way you can do it and not just end up getting scalped by the cost. I mean, Brad, didn't you guys get yours for $800 for a little milk cow that'll also give you a beef calf? That's how much we spent on our, I think we spent $600. We spent $600 on our little Zebu, and we couldn't milk her. Sorry, we couldn't milk her because she didn't give enough milk to support us and her calf. Let's see. DPH, can you do a video on butchering and cooking them? On cooking the ducks? I have them out there already. I need to kind of consolidate my videos. I have almost 2,000 videos out there, and it's not always easy for people to find the videos I've already made, but I've made videos about butchering the ducks and cooking them. Next question, what climate do you live in? I've been wanting to do some crabapple trees and live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So wondering if they will grow. Yes, crabapples will definitely grow where you are. We are zone 3-4, and we get down to, when I was a kid, we did have a winter that we were down at -40 Fahrenheit. And so crabapples will definitely do well with you. And I love crabapples because they're so prolific. They bring in the bees and they feed all your animals. Okay, please do more. Okay, what there you are. Really, darn it. The comments are like skipping. Please, where did it go? You need some apple juice. Yeah, right. I do need, I thought of that, but I was worried I'd have to go to the bathroom in the middle. I was like, if I drink anything down here, I'm going to have to go take a potty break. Okay. Cows are expensive and take a lot of time. Yes, cows take a lot of time. They're very expensive. One of the biggest inhibitor for me is that if I lose a cow, I lose something that I spent more than I spent my car on. That's the thing that always gets me, is that I'm not willing to invest in one animal that costs that much. I'd rather have multiple animals that are good animals that will spread out my what's the word? They'll spread out not liability. Liability is the wrong word. the danger of losing them and then not having food. So instead we have amazing goats that actually probably outproduce a Dexter cow. Our goats give 1.5 gallons of milk a day, and they eat a lot less than a cow. And I have 3 of them so that I'm only milking one at a time, and I have one that has babies on her so that if something happens to the one I'm milking, I still have milk from the one who has babies on her at the same time that I have one pregnant. So I only keep 3 goats. Can you see that with the sun? I keep 3 goats at a time, one milking, one with babies on her, and one pregnant. They also make an awesome essential oil for kids. Are you saying I have ADD? I do. I kind of have ADD, don't I? I'm all over the place. Okay, so who makes essential oils? Who makes essential oils? I must have missed part of that conversation. So what we do instead is we really strongly diversify. Instead of keeping a beef cow, we diversify into meat rabbits and duck and quail and goats and pigs. And the last few years, the majority of our meat has come from pigs because we have so much milk from our goats that we always have extra for the pigs. They can graze. We can give them our food scraps when we have old food storage that we didn't get through in time. It means that do I have essential oils? Yes, I have essential oils. We do doTERRA. I really like doTERRA. Okay, so that's what we do on our farm, is we diversify. And the thing is, I think that permaculture is the perfect segue into farming, because as you get your systems in place, you start to see the place where that particular livestock would really be the perfect thing to do. I am such a rock star. I've got 2 minutes left, guys. I talked for an hour. And thank you so much for helping me. Crabapples make it, oh, where did it go? Crabapples make an essential oil for kids with ADHD and ADD, and no, you don't. I was just commenting. Oh, okay. Okay, so guys, it's about time to go over and see Tommy. He's at Off Grid Nation, and go check him out. And wasn't this super fun? So make sure to come back next time. If you didn't catch Brad, he's the hour before me. So he's 5 o'clock Mountain Time. I'm 6 o'clock Mountain Time. And then Tommy is 7 o'clock Mountain Time. So if you have any requests for what you'd like the show to be about next time, I will try to put a curtain next time so that you can actually see my face. And I love you guys. And we will talk to you later. Make sure to go check out Tommy. I don't know what I think they said they're doing a call-in show for Tommy. So Tommy at the Off Grid Nation, go check him out. And let's see, is there anything else? I think that's it. Okay, we'll talk to you later.